Awesome. We are live. Oh my god,
Yeah.
balloons just appeared. Hello
Woohoo!
everyone. Welcome. We are with our buddies at Spline. Gabor would be actually doing a demo and a workshop with us in his Vision Pro. This is the first time anyone has a Vision Pro demoing us. So I'm very excited. And I'm just gonna double check if this is going on LinkedIn. There is a 10 to 20, there's about a 20-second delay between what you see here. But as we trickle in, what is everyone's favorite design style? What about you, Gabor? And
My
everyone
favorite
else?
design style. It's just minimalism in general, like something that's like minimalistic, stuff like
And
that.
clean.
How about you?
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, like I also like flat design style. It's something I really enjoy, but I think like skeuomorphism is pretty in trend right now, so it's pretty nice as well.
Yeah. I feel like I'm stuck in the past because I still love the glass morphism designs with the beautiful soft gradients. And I know they're like out of style now, but I still love those.
Yep, pretty cool. There's people coming in. Oh,
Let's see.
Swiss.
Cool. I see people on LinkedIn. Swiss. Cool.
Very cool.
Swiss editorial. Nice. I personally like pastel colors and like bright, kawaii, cute design style, like bunnies and stuff.
We know.
Brand.
Yeah.
Right.
Amazing. Where is everyone tuning in from?
Well, I'm tuning in all the way from Canada, where it is finally summer. We're very happy about it.
Yeah, I'm in Portugal.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I'm in Hungary, Budapest, so the sun is about to set here. But I still have some daylight, and we just discussed like the weather is nice in Canada too, right, Ella?
Yeah, it is gorgeous today. Oh, we have someone from India.
Wow. I'm in San Francisco. Brianna loves pastel. We have Massachusetts, India, San Francisco, Syria, India, Atlanta, Brazil, San Jose, Chicago, Denver, San Francisco, Sweden, India. Wow, we almost got all of our lovely continents covered. Amazing.
Wow.
Well,
Amazing.
Yeah, India. Amazing. I love asking this question. It kind of like hypes the chat up. But yes, let's get started. Gabor, we were recently at our first conference with Design Buddies yesterday, and Spline actually gave away a Vision Pro to one of our lucky attendees. And Gabor today will be giving a workshop on 3D design in a Vision Pro. So I'm very excited. This is our first time having anyone demo in a Vision Pro, and we've also worked with Spline a lot in the past in hosting design challenges. I actually got connected because I saw Alejandro, the CEO and founder, like post about Spline and Design Buddies, and I checked it out. I was like, oh, this is cool. So like I reached out because he posted in our Design Buddies Discord, and that's how we got connected. Probably like back in like 2021 or something, a while ago. So very excited to welcome back Spline and have them part of our conference. And without further ado, I'll hand it over to you, Gabor.
Exciting, awesome. Hi everyone. Yeah, we are very excited to be here, and thanks again for joining us today. And I'm looking forward to show you a couple of demos with Spline. The idea is that we would like to go over a bunch of like examples through which you can learn some basics concepts about how to design for 3D experiences. And before we dive in, you see my screen, right? Like the screen sharing does work, I suppose.
Yeah.
Looks
cool.
good.
Awesome.
Looks good.
So we have with me here Ella and Gonzalo. Myself, I'm a head of the product design at Spline, and as I mentioned previously, I'm streaming in from Budapest, Hungary here, and I want to pass the mic to Gonzalo now.
Yeah. So hi everyone, I'm Gonzalo. I'm a product design lead at Spline. and I'm joining from Portugal today. And yeah, very excited to be here in this session, and thank you all for coming.
Yeah, and hey everyone, I'm Ella from Canada, and I'm a content growth manager here at Spline, and we really hope you enjoy the live demo today.
Yeah, and with that, actually, I would like to have like an opening question. Feel free to answer it in the chat. Like we are curious, like how many of you have used Spline before? It can be like an easy like yes or no. Ella will be also here with us for you if you would have any questions during the stream to answer on the chat directly. But at the end, we also will have like a short Q&A session for you. But for those who don't know about Spline, so I have a little intro about it here for you. So basically, Spline is a collaborative design platform for creating production-ready interactive experiences in multiple dimensions. And the idea is that with Spline, you can design, collaborate, and ship real 3D and spatial experiences without the need to coding. We are also super grateful about our inspiring community. It's full of amazing designers and creators who constantly deliver like truly amazing work. And on top of that, lots of work is being shared by them on the community platform for you to remix or get started with Spline. And today we would like to show you a bit about Spline and what it is capable of. So first, I will dive into a couple of more like simple demos through which you can learn some of the basics with Spline, and then I will dive deeper into some more intricate details and features and explore what target platforms you can export to directly from Spline. So for that, I'm actually going to open up my Spline here. Let me just open this URL and pull it up. So with Spline, basically you have your home space where you can explore all of your previous slides. And on the left-hand side, as I mentioned, you have the ability to join and explore the community and remix all the cool features that they have. You also have access to some tutorials and library to get you easily started. And our next step is to actually jump into the editor straight away. So I would like to open up one of these example scenes. Like all the demos that I'm going to show you were like 100% built with Spline, like all the geometries, models, and shapes were basically explored and designed and developed with Spline. But I would like to just show you this very first idea, which is about with Spline, it's pretty easy to interact with your scenes. The idea is that you can use familiar techniques that you might be already knowledgeable about from your previous like 2D experiences if you are a designer, and it should be also easy to collaborate within the file itself. So let me go into this scene. Here you can see that we have our viewport in the middle of the scene where you can orbit around the camera and move around your objects. I would also like to invite Gonzalo. Perhaps you could jump into this file too so we can see how we can collaborate together. And
Yep.
Gonzalo, feel free to also arrange the things here in this scene. So you can see the power of collaboration, like Gonzalo is also interacting with the scene itself. I can also pick up the objects, and we have this simple to use gizmo with which you can, translate your objects in the 3D space. You can rotate them, arrange them, move them, or scale them as you wish. And within Spline, we have like a basic setup where on the left-hand side, you see all your objects. And on the right-hand side, you see all the properties that are related to those objects. So you can directly manipulate them through those as well. And on the top of the screen, you see like a toolbar where you can get access to all the powerful tools with which you can create the 3D experiences within Spline. So the next demo that let's maybe tidy up a bit this thing beforehand. So we made a bit of a mess, but yes. So the next scene is actually let me pull up the deck. Is about the fact that how easy it is to visualize something like a product within Spline. You can, for instance, show a mock-up of an iPhone and just easily swap the image on that iPhone to a video or an image. And with this, there's this powerful way of visualizing your products or concepts. But what is even more fun about is that you can build upon interactive or like add interactivity into your scenes. So if I'm going to open this scene now, you will see how it is being set up. So if I enter play mode, you can see that there are some interactivity. There is an interactivity added to this scene. So on hover, the object is being rotated and orbited slightly, and on click, it's being spinned. But how does all of this work? So with Spline, you don't need to worry about, like going into the details of coding. You can create your interactions with our easy-to-use system from here. Like on the right-hand side, this object has specific states, has the base state and the second state, with which you can, just basically adjust the parameters of your objects. Like I could create a third state two or as many states as I need to, and then I could directly specify certain parameters there, either on the viewport or the available parameters on the right-hand side. And how to basically add interactivity on top of it is via our events system. On this right-hand side, you have an events panel. We had an event pre-added here called the mouse hover. And we also have a set of additional events. So we support all sorts of input methods, from mouse to touch to keyboard and some more advanced stuff. But for the sake of simplicity, this setup is just using the mouse hover. And the mouse hover is driving certain actions. So you also have plenty of possibilities. Like you could trigger certain things, like maybe you want to create an object or do, I don't know, transition to another scene or do something more advanced. But the more basic stuff is just like, transitioning between the states. So for that, we have like a transition action here, and you can go from a base state to another state. So you can define the transition here directly, which were these two states that we preset. And that's how like a simple interaction can be set up on Spline. On top of that, you can stack up multiple events too, right? So there is a mouse down event too, which is actually triggering that other state change, which is the rotation of this object. All right, cool. So let me just jump back here. With Spline, you can also create stunning visuals, and you don't need to code for that, because usually in 3D, it's pretty hard to achieve like beautiful materials. For that, we are using a more familiar setup where you can basically layer and stack layers of materials on top of each other and blend them together. And this allows you to create like pretty detailed or like custom visual appearances. And let me just show it to you in the demo that we prepared here directly. So we have this scene, and you can see that this scene is like heavily relying on the glass material. Glass is something like, I think, Ella, you mentioned the glass morphism, that you still like that one in the icebreaker.
Still my
question.
favorite. Yeah, still my favorite.
Yeah, so it's a pretty trending style nowadays still, but the idea is that you could bring it to the 3D, right? Like in 2D, you can do like some background blurs and mimic the idea of a glass layer. But here in 3D, you can take it fully spatial and blur things that are beneath our glass layer or like beyond it. So that means that in order to achieve this, we have a basic setup here. So if you are creating material for your objects or for your geometries, these are the material layers that I mentioned. And I'm just going to turn off everything just to see the bare bones, like how does a material layer stack up and how does it blend together with all the different layers. So by default, if you don't have anything, you just don't see your geometry, but you can turn on the color on it, and you can also add additional layers into it, right? Like we have a bunch of layers for you to play around with, but this specific setup is just using like 4 different layers. And if you have the bare bones, which is the color, you won't see any shading. So here it's like everything is flat. You don't see any like shadows being cached on your geometry. So in order to do that, you want to turn on the lighting, which comes by default on like our materials, but you could turn it off if you want to achieve something stylistically different. And on top of that, there's the glass layer turned on, which is already achieving this nice like blur effect for you. And you can also set its parameters. So you might be able to, blur with a certain degree your models, but the glass doesn't feel quite right yet. That's why there are additional layers stacked up on top of this, which is this Fresnel layer. And the Fresnel layer, if I would just show that one alone, is basically a way for you to just create some kind of reflections on your object. And we also have like a matcap layer, but all of this comes together when you stack them together with the glass. And yeah, I think I messed up this one because the Fresnel I set to normal. So these are the blending modes that I mentioned. So you could go into overlay, and then it will like just better blend with your glass layer and create something that's a bit more realistic towards an actual glass. All right, so that's all about material layers. And if you want to go beyond that, Spline also allows you to build mini-worlds, interactive mini-worlds, using more advanced events like game controls and even physics. So you can easily set up a scene which can be, fully interactive. Let me just open this demo too and show you it in practice. So we have our like mini world set up here, and we have our main character, which is this little ball. And you can see that the ball basically has a game control event, and the game control event allows you to navigate with your object in your scene. You could make it either fly or walk, depending on the mechanism that you are aiming for. And there are a bunch of parameters for you to also, adjust its speed and the way you can control it. And if I enter the play mode, you can see that, yeah, with this game control event, it was as easy as just adding that single event to my object, and it can be immediately pretty interactive. And by default, like most scenes have physics off. So if we would have that, that means that actually objects are not really colliding, they are not behaving and interacting with the physics system of Spline. But if I turn it on, that means that all the objects that were set to dynamic will immediately be playing together well with the physics engine of Spline. Yeah, so this is how easy it is to set it up. So in more detail, yeah, if you wanna select any of these objects, if you scroll down, you have a little physics panel where you can also adjust its behavior. So by default, objects can be like positioned. That means that there will be static. They won't actually collide, or they won't actually, fall down. But if they are dynamic, that means that they will actually play well together with the gravity and all the aspects of physics that are preset in your scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to add anything there?
Yeah.
Gonzalo?
Yeah, I want to call out like how easy it is, right, to get something like this going, right? It's just adding like a game controls event, which will get you the game controls logic, and then setting up the physics as well is pretty easy. So that's kind of what we're going for, right? It's allowing you to make these experiences in a easy way. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And on top of that, with easiness, I think we should not be constrained by by going into more details or more complex scenarios. Like in this example, it's builds up on the idea of like creating mini worlds, and you might want to actually like teleport between these mini worlds, and you might want to set up more advanced animations for your character, for instance, too. So let me just show this demo, which is kind of a more advanced setup or scenario for the same concept. So in this scene, you can see that on the left-hand side, I have multiple scenes set up. And those multiple scenes allow you to explore different like designs, ideas, or, for you to develop different environments. In this case, these are kind of like different game levels, but they could be also, your design system where you explore different kind of like concepts on different scenes and build up your structure there. And Spline is also compatible with animations that are maybe made elsewhere, so you can import them. And you can take the power of that because Spline can supercharge it, and all these animations that were maybe done somewhere else, and you import it and then apply it to your character, they can be actually married with our event system. This is how this setup looks like here, where we have like a game controls hooked up to the same character, but instead of something simple as the ball was in the previous example, we can basically trigger and call all the events or all the animations based on these behaviors, like when the character is idle, a specific type of animation is being played. When they move, jump, or run, they will also, be based on those animations that you imported here. So what does it mean in practice? So in practice, it means that I can have pretty sophisticated character controls. If I'm holding down the shift key and pressing my arrow keys, I can run with my character. I can even jump with the character, and it will play the jump animation. And if I'm just standing, it will just play the idle animation. You can see some kind of slight movement there. And we also set up these teleports here. So the way those teleports are set up is that you can, teleport or transition to a different scene. And with this, you can kind of create multiple dimensions and like multiple mini worlds through which you can navigate. And that's also just using our basic event system. So if you look at any of these teleportals or like portals, you can see that they also have like a trigger area, and the trigger area will actually trigger certain actions, like there's a sound effect played, and it's also being transitioned to a different scene. So you can select the scene that you created on the left hand side and load the specific one that you need. All right, cool. I think another fun aspect of Spline is that you can mimic real-world effects like smoke, fire, snow, or explore some more abstract visuals with particles. This is something we recently launched like at the end of last year. And you're also able to create more sophisticated particles with multiple emitters, and just explore your creative ideas there and make them interactive too. So for that, we have a basic demo too for you to get started with particles, or like give you some tips there. So by default, you can just create an emitter here in our like add list. And if you create an emitter, you can see that it will immediately start emitting some kind of particles. You can adjust all of its parameters on the right-hand side, like adjust the color of your particles, or change its lifetime. So maybe you wanna spawn them for like a longer time period, change its speed, or also adjust things like forces, like gravity, with which you can basically manipulate the behavior of your particles. We have a
The
more
shape
like
as well.
the shape.
Shape is nice as well.
Yeah.
The emitter. Yep.
Yeah, the emitter shape, you mean? Yeah. So you can define from where the particle should be emitted. Yeah, that's cool. And for that, we also have like a more sophisticated setup here. So this particle, it has a particular gravity setup and a particular style to mimic the sense of the, or to mimic the idea of the sand. And what is cool about this setup is that we also have like a particle force here, and particle forces are basically influencing the behavior of your particles, because if you set up a force, it can be defined by a shape. Like in this case, it's like a sphere collider, and it will just, make it happen that the collision happens with your particles, and it will influence through this particle force the behavior of your particles. And if I enter play mode, we even hooked up like a mouse follow event. So you can, in a couple of clicks, you can set up a pretty exciting, like interactive scenario here. Yeah, this is the follow event that we have set up, which is basically just saying that, hey, this particle emitter should follow your cursor. So every time you move your cursor around, it is following it. Yeah, that's all about particles. And other more advanced topic is the topic of variables, which I believe we could do another live stream about this topic, as it can get pretty complex. But the general idea is that with variables, you can create more dynamic scenes, and you can set up an advanced logic for your experience, or just invent a custom design pattern or micro interaction. There is a particular demo that we prepared for this one. Let me open that too. So here in this demo, you can see that on my variables panel, I have a bunch of variables. But without going into too much detail, because this can be like could be a longer topic. The idea is that there's a basic like number-based variable, which is right now set to 5. If I'm adjusting it, you will see that it is actually dynamically updating in my viewport too, because this text is hooked up to that specific variable, which is pretty cool. But I think where it is even more fun is that in the play mode, you can update this variable with a specific event. So every time I'm basically triggering the mouse down event, I have an action which is calculating for me a particular variable. That means that, likes is like a set value at the beginning of my experience, but every time I'm triggering this event, I'm just adding one additional number to it. So it's like just adding up continuously. And this way, we can do this kind of more dynamic effect. It's even spawning some objects for us from the air. And this one is again using some aspects of the physics behavior that I mentioned in the previous examples, where these little spawned objects are just colliding with these objects and falling down. Right. You want to add anything, Gonzalo, for the variables?
Yeah, I can add that, like maybe designers are usually, familiar with variables of like, color styles and those things. And I think in Spline, it's supercharged because, you can use variables to actually create complex logic for your scene, right? It's not just something to influence like the color or the corner radius, but it's actually like something you can use to enhance your scene with like, more complex logic, basically.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and it's pretty exciting that you can invent your custom like design interactions or patterns or micro interactions with a feature like this. All right. So next up is a little bit about components. So you might be familiar with components from other tools, which allows you to build your design system, for instance. But in our case, it allows you to build a spatial design system. So you can collaborate with your team on larger scale projects and just keep your designs consistent across your files and just make certain components easily reusable. So let me demonstrate how components work in our case. So I have like a setup here, which I'm going to just remove to start fresh. And this is kind of, these icons were also basically designed 100% with Spline, which is just showcasing the idea or like demonstrates the power of how you could develop your visuals with this tool at the same time as building like interactive content on top of it. And in this case, this little calendar is my main component, and those components appear on your asset browser too. So from there, all of these objects that were made into a component, I can easily grab them and drag them into the scene directly. So if I'm doing that, it means that I'm actually just spawning some instances based on the original component. And let's say I want to change, some of the visual look or parameters of it. So maybe I'm just going to change the time, and you can see that how it's being reflected to the instances. But as you might be expecting this, in some particular cases, maybe you have multiple instances, you could also overwrite some of the parameters in the instances. So maybe this particular calendar, you want to be like, I don't know, September 4th, then it won't be, reflected upon your main component. So you can like overwrite certain aspects of it. And it's not just about the, like the parameters, but it's also about the visual appearance of it. So let's say you wanna maybe change the corner radius of the back shape, and that just also is perfectly in sync. But if you wanna go further, you can push all of these components into your library and collaborate them across files with your team too. All right, so that's about components, and next up for us is talking a little bit about or showing to you how you can take your designs into production and what are some of the robust export capabilities with Spline. The idea is that you as a designer should be able to push 3D into production, and what you see on Spline is equivalent to what you will see on the final product, being it a website or a native app. And through this simple scene, now I just would like to demonstrate this idea for you. Let me open it up. This avatar was also built and modeled on Spline, and let's imagine that we might want to actually export this to a certain platform. So you can reach the export panel through this button that we have here on the right-hand side, and there are three different major categories for which you can export, like the web. The web means that it's easily embeddable to your websites, right? We are also compatible with tools like Webflow or Framer, where we can even more natively and directly integrate. But you might also be able to, hand off your designs to your developers via code export for certain, formats that they might require. We also have some of the more boring formats, like you might want to do like an image export with transparent PNG or with the background turned on, or just record a video of your project, export to some of the popular 3D formats. But where the more fun is coming is, I think, one of our recent launches, which is support for the native Apple platform. And there it means that you can take your scenes and embed them directly into like a native iOS-based app or iPadOS-based app or even macOS. And on top of that, we are also supporting visionOS. All of this means that we basically built like a metal-based spline renderer, and we take the full capability of the native devices, like the Apple devices, and that means that the performance will be great on these devices, and you will get access to all the native behaviors, gestures, touch inputs, and on visionOS. More excitingly, even the kind of the spatial way of interacting with your content. So that means that, you can take this scene and easily embed it into like an iOS app or visionOS app. But how do you go from there? So how do you pre-visualize, or how do you explore the concepts that you are creating on something like visionOS, which is like an emerging landscape for you to start with? So for that, we actually built an app called Spline Mirror. And I'm now just going to demonstrate you how you can experience your scenes on the visionOS through all the different modes. So let me just set up a little system here. And while I'm setting up, maybe Gonzalo, you can share some more
some more knowledge.
there.
Yeah.
I think you said pretty much everything. Now it's the exciting part.
Yeah,
Let's
the exciting
see.
demo.
Let's
Looking
hope
good, Gabor.
First time demoing live from the Vision Pro. All right, let's hope it will work.
Yeah.
I might need to turn off my screen sharing for 1 second to just get this working.
Sure.
One moment.
All right.
This just reminds me of all those videos of people in like New York on the subway doing their daily life in the Vision Pro.
True.
He's typing in his password, I can tell.
All right. It worked, so better work.
Yeah, it worked when we practiced, so I'm sure it will work again.
Oh, you muted yourself, Gabor. If you...
Thanks for letting me know. I'm just about to arrive. All right, I'm here. Do you see my kind of point of view from the Vision Pro?
You need to share again the screen, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't share. Okay, sorry about that.
But you did hit fireworks, which is pretty cool.
I shared the screen, so I'm going to share the entire screen, screen 1. Are you sure you don't see the screen?
Now we can see your Google Chrome.
Yeah, your MacBook.
Awesome. So we should arrive there in a bit. Unfortunately, this is something that you cannot set up in advance, so we need to go through this process.
Yeah, thank you for waiting, everyone.
it will be worth it. Yeah.
Yeah.
How about now?
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, awesome. Okay, so basically this is the little app that we prepared for you. It's called Spline Mirror. And let me just turn my mic here. So on Spline Mirror, if you enter the app, you can log in into your account and you can explore all your designs that you previously created. We also have like a template library for you to get started if you know have the blank canvas effect and you just don't know what to build for this spatial medium. And you can see that one of the scenes that I recently explored is this like avatar scene, and I'm just going to visualize it now on the Spline Mirror app. So on Vision OS in itself, you have three major modes with which you can experience your content. One of is the windowed mode, which you can see now. So that means that your content will appear in a window. Your 3D content will be embedded in a window. It's kind of like what we already do on the web or in like native apps on your iPhone. So it's kind of a bit flat, but content in there can be 3D. So on top of that, you also have input methods, right? On Vision OS, you can just, as you might know, you can look at things, and by looking at things, you can also reinforce your intent by just tapping together your fingers, and that is mimicking kind of like a mouse gesture. So we remapped those gestures onto the Vision OS, so all the event system that we have and that I talked about also work on the Vision OS directly. But where the more fun part is if you actually explore your content spatially, and one of that content modes is like the volume mode, where you can see that this avatar is now fully spatial, which is pretty hard to showcase or present it on like a screen share because you don't see it in full stereo, but you can maybe imagine it like it feels like it as if it would be appear in front of you. And there you can also like rescale it, like place it in your space. You can also have multiple volumes in your space, or you could anchor those volumes to certain windows if you have an app, like maybe you want to create like a more interactive, Wikipedia browser or something like that, where you need to just showcase a 3D model together with your article. It would be possible. And then you can also, experience it in full immersive mode. And here I just turned off my physical reality and I'm just immersed by the spline scenes fully. And this is taking the capability of the meta renderer, as I mentioned previously. So all of this is happening natively and taking the advantage of the native performance. And with that, I just would like to show you something that goes beyond like the static example that I showed you and takes that capability a bit further. So we have a little scene here, which is using some more advanced scenario. This one is basically based on one of the projects from our community members called Eximoris. Ella can maybe drop it to the comments section so people can also remix this scene themselves. Thanks for Eximoris for sharing this with us recently. And if you enter immersive mode, there you can see that here I can go beyond the typical like 2D interaction paradigm, because if I would grab this sphere in like a window or like on like a web browser, it would be fully static. But here I can be fully spatial. So when I'm like grabbing that sphere, I can basically spatially place it in the environment, or like in the 3D environment. We also had like a particle effect hooked up to it, and like a more advanced character setup where the character is following this little sphere, and it makes it feel even more dynamic. All of this should also work in the volume mode, where it can just increase the presence factor in itself. There you can see that particles are not yet available, but that's something that we are working on and we will launch soon too. So particles should be available here as well. And the fun part about this is that we just build a scene, on Spline. We were focusing on like one particular medium, which was like just for the web or like the screen-based experience. But because of this export to Spline Mirror, you can just export it spatially to all these different modes without the need to worry about rebuilding it for all the modes as you would traditionally need to do so if you are developing a 3D experience for a spatial medium. And with that, this also means that you could be building, fully immersive environments. Like this scene here is fully modeled with Spline, and all the materials were also made there. let me show you something that goes beyond like the static experience and is showcasing more of the power of the interactivity with Spline. So let's say I have this little scene here. So these are again using the power of physics and gravity, as I mentioned in some of the previous examples. And I can just go and grab these objects, and these objects allow me to then interact with the other one. And I can just have this like immersive effect in my room and environment where I'm being surrounded by these objects that would be otherwise not possible, right? In physical reality, we might not be able to do something like this, but the power of like Spline and the engine that we provide here is taking all the native capability of the Vision OS, and with that we can create like a more advanced interactive paradigm. All right, I also have another one just for fun, which is a similar one, but here it demonstrates the idea through physics mimicking more like real world behavior, where gravity is not set to 0, so I don't have this like outer space effect as on the previous example where things were in like 0 gravity and floating around, but here things are falling down because it's just mimicking the real world physics behavior. And on top of that, we have like the hand gestures and hand interactions possible with the tool. Let's just try this one out in volume just for fun too. I think this scene is not very optimized for the volume mode, but you can see that it instantly works there too. So I can just explore it there. If I would just go and polish this design, probably I would, create a different kind of setup for this. Maybe I would create like an actual spatial table for it, so it's even more immersive. But yeah, it just works out of the box too. All right.
Cool.
With that, I'm going to go back to my regular setup. So let me just take this off. Let's see how we are about time. Oh, this was pretty immersive. All right. Need to adjust for a second. Yeah, so what I wanted to wrap up with is that, as you have seen, Spline allows you to create pretty advanced interactive 3D experiences, and all of them can be then exported to different target platforms. And you can go beyond prototyping because all of this can be embedded into like actual production ready apps. So you could be shipping something with it into an actual app or like a web experience. And I feel like this is really exciting because typically designers would have to hand off, and then engineers would have to rebuild your experience. But with Spline, you can like push it one step further, and you could be building the final kind of outcome without the need to go over the hassle of rebuilding it through like a complicated other software or like workflow. And we also prepared for you some kind of like resources for you to get started with Spline. So Alan, you could can you please drop the link for this one? You also have a QR code here, which you can scan. Thank you. And there you can find just a link tree, which is leading you to a couple of like resources that we just prepared for this particular sessions for you to like just get started with Spline and learn more about it. And we are a bit over time, I believe, but I'm also happy to answer, or we are happy to answer any questions async through our socials. Also, if there are any like questions popping up, we are happy to discuss it here too in the remaining few minutes.
Yeah, I think we are on time, right?
All right, awesome. Oh, I forgot to mention that Spline is free to use. So it's free for you to get started, and all the features that I showcased, they are like freely available for you. But we also prepared a little like incentive here. So if you want to go further and subscribe, you can get like a 30% off on our super subscription. If you are using this code Spline Buddies during checkout, then yeah, you can just get 30% off. And thank you for being here and being with us and like going through all these little demos.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much. send me all the links. I will email them to everyone who signed up and post them in the Design the Future channel in Design Buddy. So check out the comments for the links, and then if you RSVP'd, we will email it to all of you as well, and use the promo code. And thank you so much. We really appreciate your time here, and I really enjoyed seeing a demo from your Vision Pro as well.
Awesome. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you
Have a
all.
good-
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye
Thanks,
bye.
everybody.
Thanks.